I'd like to call this meeting of the Clay County Commission to order. We will begin with our invocation. Sherry Kane, if you'd like to come up.
Let's pray. The elections are over. We can now breathe a sigh. They've asked for more years, so we'll give them a try. Us Clay County folks need their help every day, so we'll lay aside battles for this quick time to pray. May Megan and Joanne work for what's right, and God give them courage in the darkness of night. For another 4 years, we've asked them to lead, to speak what is true, and sow some good seed. May Jason and John stand for Clay County West, and God give them wisdom to do what is best. Free them from selfishness and partisan greed, to speak for the speechless and follow your creed. We pray for Will Aiken and Tracy also. Give peace and tranquility these 4 years to go. For Jerry and Scott and Commissioner Jay, help them do good for the County of Clay. For the folks in the back corner who get some small pay, may they stand tall with pride on your judgment day. May they trust in your guidance as they try to do right. They will follow your path if you'll give them some light. Hear us tonight as we pause and we pray. Give us confident joy that our vote was okay. In the name of our Creator, God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen.
Please join me in prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Put some work into that one.
I'm sorry?
You put some effort into that.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you for the personalized invocation. Appreciate it. Roll call.
Commissioner Nolte? Here. Commissioner Withington? Commissioner Lawson? Here. Commissioner Wagner? Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Thompson?
Here.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Next is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion related to approval of this evening's agenda? Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve tonight's agenda.
Motion has been made for the approval of this evening's agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Next item on our agenda are public comments. Are there any citizens here who would wish to comment on any subject to the commission? Seeing none. That brings us to our consent agenda. Administrator?
The consent agenda allows the Commission to act upon items considered to be routine and approved in one motion. These may include items that have been reviewed by the Commission in a prior session. There will be no separate discussion unless a Commissioner requests that an item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. There are 10 items on the consent agenda this evening. The first item is consideration of approving Commission meeting minutes from August 1st, 2024. And Resolution 2024-229 is approving invoice payments for Clay County from August 3rd to August 9th. There are 361 invoices totaling $1,290,905.43. Resolution 2024-228 is approving a cooperative acceptance agreement between Centus Workplace Solutions and Clay County for uniform, mat rental, and restroom services as needed. Resolution 2024-231 is approving work zone enforcement program order between the Missouri Highway and Transportation Commission and the Clay County Sheriff's Office. Resolution 2024-232 is approving an RFP for inmate healthcare services with advanced correctional healthcare for the Sheriff's Office. 2024 Ordinance 20 is approved programming agreement for replacement bridge on Stockdale Road over the Canadian Pacific and Union Pacific Railroads. It's a federal project with the Missouri Highway Transportation Commission. 2024 Ordinance 21 is approving ordinance modifications to Chapter 90 of the Code of Ordinances for Clay County. Resolution 2024-236 is approving ARPA funding for task order agreement for engineering and project management of a new water line connection at Smithville Lake. Resolution 2024-238 is the transfer within a fund in the amount of $13,300. It's adjustment of budgeted salaries to fill a vacant Park Specialist 3 position. And Resolution 2024-239, appointing Commissioner Scott Wagner to the Clay County EDC Midwest Small Business Board.
Is there a motion, Commissioner Johnson?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Motion has been made for the approval of this evening's consent agenda. Are there any comments? I would just make one, to extend my thanks to Commissioner Wagner for stepping up to be a member of the Midwest Small Business Finance Board. That's an important asset that we have here in economic development, and I'm pleased that he has stepped up to take that responsibility. Any further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson? Motion passes 3-0.
That brings us to our regular agenda. First item on this evening's regular agenda is 2024-237. Administrator.
Resolution 2024-237 is a request for consideration for the waiver of fees, interest, penalties, and taxes due to a county error by David and Jennifer Moore. I believe Mr. Moore, the applicant, is in the audience to present information to the commission regarding this request.
Very well. Is there anyone to speak on that? Is there a motion, I guess? It seems like I don't see anybody jumping up to speak. Oh, I'm sorry, there you are. Please come forward.
Yeah, most of it written down, in fact. It says that I owe penalties tax is not giving,
I'm sorry.
but I didn't even know I moved.
You need, I'm sorry, I thought you were,
We didn't tell you that, did we?
No, we didn't.
no, please, I'm sorry, I said, please come up to the microphone, make sure the green light is on. That's for anybody who comes up to speak.
It's on.
Identify yourself and then please proceed.
My name is David Moore. And what I was saying is I was never notified that I owed taxes. I moved out of Clay County that year. When I called the lady, and I mean, you guys have my phone number, my email address, you had all that. My taxes were current. I paid them in March of 21. Then when I called, the lady said, well, we kept sending you letters. Well, where'd you send them to? I moved, and I did have a change of address, but I never got anything. However, we file taxes in Missouri every year, and I got a refund every year because my wife works there. So obviously, they know where I'm at. Sheriff found me in 8 days, and I paid in 1 day. I came the next day after he told me I owed taxes and paid. I don't feel like I should owe the penalties. I was never informed I owed them.
Any commissioners have any questions of the applicant? Okay. Do we want to hear from either the collector or the assessor?
Barbara O'Reilly, Collector. Our records show that the 2021 bill, which this is the taxes that we were collecting, the December bill was never returned with a change of address or anything. And then again, on the 22 mailing, we received a thing from the post office that said that it was undeliverable, no forwarding address. And then when we did the 2023 mailing of the bills, the post office sent back a notice that it was returned, no forwarding address. We were not informed, and I believe the assessment department was never informed of an address change. And then due to the time limit, we sent it for collections, and they found the new address.
Commissioner Lawson.
Just a quick question, Barbara.
Yes, ma'am.
So, he moved in October 2021, so needless to say, the statements hadn't gone out for that until in December.
Correct.
A couple months later.
Correct.
But you did not get anything back saying move, no address or whatever
No.
for that 2021
No, ma'am.
bill you sent out?
No, we did
right?
not. No.
Okay, all right. And what's normal when you have a change of address like that? There's a particular time period when they continue to forward the mail?
I don't know what the post office does. I don't know what their time limit is. At the post office, I don't know what.
Okay.
I thought it was maybe 6 months. It used to be.
Oh.
I don't know what it is now.
Okay.
So,
Well, even if it was just October, went out in December, that'd only been like 60 days, so
Right.
not quite, so it should have
right.
forwarded, but, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Just for clarification, so you made attempts to
Yes,
send out
sir.
notifications, but you sent
Yes.
them to the house
Yes.
where he had moved from, and they weren't forwarded to him for some reason. That's a post office issue. What should have happened differently? Was there responsibility on Mr. Moore's part to notify you of the change of address?
Right. They need to inform the assessment department of a change of address. And the assessment department will then in turn notify us so we can correct our address and send new statements, delinquent notices, whatever the time period is.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Actually, I have a couple questions for Mr. Moore,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
Excuse me.
So, Mr. Moore, I'm assuming you didn't make that change of address with the assessor's office?
I did it with the post office.
With the
I had
post
no
office,
idea I
right.
needed to do it with
Yeah,
Clay
I get it.
County.
And you didn't pay you didn't pay those property taxes when you're in your new house, did you?
I moved to Kansas.
Yeah, so you didn't,
No.
okay, so,
I mean, I had to pay Kansas taxes when I re-tagged everything, but yeah.
so but these taxes were for taxes for when you did live here?
Apparently, I had no idea. If I'd have known, that, like she said, the bill doesn't come out till, and I was already gone.
Yeah.
And the minute I got this thing, I came up here and I paid the taxes and the penalties.
Sure. Yeah, so I guess what I'm getting at is, so you're not being asked to pay taxes for taxes that you didn't owe. You just didn't know that you owed them and you weren't notified.
100%.
Okay, so here's the issue that we have, and I don't know if this has been explained to you or not. For us to have the authority to waive these fees, I don't like how the system works myself either, and I don't like the notifications, and I'm not a big fan of how the post office has been operating around here lately. So I don't doubt that you weren't forwarded that information. But nonetheless, legally for us to waive these fees, we have to show that there's some kind of fault on the county's part, that we were negligent in some way in collecting these taxes. From what it sounds like, the county did everything they could in trying to contact you with what they had on file. I get you didn't turn in I probably wouldn't have notified them either of a change of address. I wouldn't think that I'd had to do that. I understand that, and I don't like how that system works, but nonetheless, I don't see, unless you got something else to add, I don't see how we can say that the county did anything wrong on this.
I'm not, isn't this a state tax or is this county tax?
Pardon me?
Is this a state tax or a county tax?
Well, the county collects it.
Okay.
Is the problem.
For the state, correct?
Well, it goes a lot of different places, but yeah.
Okay. So why did it take 3 years for them to even bring this to my attention? If they wanted to bring it to my attention, all of my information's been the same for 20-some years. Somebody could have made a phone call, an email. You have all that stuff. It took the sheriff 8 days to find my house. Shouldn't have taken them 3 years.
I see what you're saying.
It would have been paid a long time ago. I'm not behind on anything anywhere.
So, Actually, can I have Barbara back up here again? Why did
Yeah.
it take so long?
Yes, Barbara O'Reilly, collector.
Why did it take so long?
Well, this is our process.
Yeah.
We don't go, this is the state laws that we
Yeah.
do these notifications, and then we have the last resort up to send it to collections. And if we, we have no address changes
So
or
it was
anything.
a collections attorney that actually located his address?
Pardon?
It was a collections attorney that actually located the current address for Mr. Moore, is that right?
Whenever they, send it.
So we never found, it wasn't the
No,
county that ever
no, we
found
didn't.
that? And that was turned over to collections attorney in May 29th of oh, that's when he found his
24.
address. When was it turned over to collections?
I
No,
think,
let's see. Is that November? Are you seeing the date? So May 29th is when the attorney located the address, but it says, I didn't know if that's when we turned it over to collections, if we turned it over sooner than that.
Yeah, if
the
I can jump
court-
in, my suspicion is that what we typically do is send a bunch to the collection attorney at one time. They prep those cases handed to them for litigation, and in order to have a court case, you have to be able to identify and serve the person. So they have folks in that office who are tasked with identifying who the defendants are and how to get them served.
Okay. Were you going to say something?
it was March the 24th is the date that is on the case number.
Okay, so March 20, okay, that's when you sent it,
The
okay.
29th of 24.
So I've always said this before, I'm not a big fan of our process, I'm not a big fan of what we charge and fees. I know we don't control a lot of that, and I'm not a big fan of this whole process. If we don't have the authority to overturn whatever we want to overturn, and we really don't, I don't think it's a fair process. I don't think it's I think it could be challenged, actually, at the higher level. But the state doesn't give us the authority to change this stuff. Unless I'll ask the attorney, you see something I don't see? Is there anything that you see that would make it the fault of the county?
On this one, I don't see anything that the county did either in violation of the statute, any fault, or anything outside of our process.
Yeah, that's kind of what I see, too. I'll let my colleagues chime in if they want.
Commissioner Lawson?
Okay, so we sent out our bill like we always did.
Yes,
The county had no knowledge of the move.
No, ma'am.
Okay, and so we sent the bill out, just like we did for everybody else. We would have had no way to know. And then it wasn't until it was sent out the following year that it actually came back, which of course was a year later.
Right.
But the way I see it, the move was made in October. The bill went out in the 1st of December. If there had been a change of address, then it would have been forwarded on to the base or Kansas. But then again, you know, all the experiences we've had with the Postal Service, we hope that it was, it was forwarded. But as far as the county is concerned, if you want to affix blame, we weren't responsible because we did do exactly what we were supposed to do, not knowing that it was not forwarded. And we figured they still lived at the same place. Okay, so, yeah, I don't think that in this instance, that the county really had they did exactly as they should have done, and then something happened in the process. Maybe it wasn't forwarded, or I don't know. So, okay, I want to make sure. Thank you, Barbara.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any closing remarks before I ask for a motion from the applicant? Please use the microphone and identify yourself.
Let's say you want the penalties. Now I'll pay the penalties for the first year. Why should I pay the continuing penalties for 22, 23, 24, when I was not contacted till 8 days ago. I mean, that doesn't make any sense, and I understand you guys got rules you gotta go by. Understand that. Who can I go to from here up to get this back? If you can't help me, where do I go from here?
Mr. Counselor, do you have any advice for the applicant as far as the appeal process from here, should he decide to go for that?
Sure. I think probably the next step would be to go to the circuit court in Clay County and file a petition.
Which court?
The circuit court in Clay
Circuit
County,
court?
right down the hill.
Okay.
Okay. Very well. I would ask then for a motion based on 2024-237, and when you make that motion, please remember to indicate which box would be checked. Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve 2024-237 with the box marked denies.
Motion has been made to approve 2024-237 with the box marked denied checked. Further discussion? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson? Yes. Motion passes 3-0.
Next on our agenda is 2024-230. Administrator?
Resolution 2024-230 is approving invoice payments for the Clay County Prosecutor's Office for the period of August 3rd through August 9th. There are 4 invoices totaling $4,034.24.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Commissioner Johnson?
Move to approve 2024-230.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2024-230. Any further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
I recuse myself.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes,
Motion passes 2 in favor, 1 recusal.
Next item is 2024-234. Administrator?
Resolution 2024-234 is the approval of a conditional use permit for the Clay County Sheriff's Office for the indoor shooting range. And we have Director of Planning and Zoning Jones here to provide information to the Commission about this project.
Please proceed.
Kip Jones, Planning Director. So this is the conditional use permit request for the Sheriff's Office for their Law Enforcement Resource Center. I've got the property pulled up on the screen. Currently, it's zoned agricultural, approximately 91 acres. It is the current site of the Clay County Road and Bridge Department. It has access from 116th Street, and 33 Highway is located about a quarter mile to the east of the subject property. That is the overall property in purple right there. And this little blue rectangle is the approximate location of the proposed building. So the proposal is an indoor-only shooting range. There is no outdoor shooting aspect to the range. There would be no public use. It would be for law enforcement personnel only. The building includes a classroom and multi-purpose room. Typical hours are 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. However, there would be some weekend and after-hour hours as well. There is a parking lot with approximately 30 parking spaces, including 2 accessible spaces. And there is a berm and landscaping to obstruct the view. So this is the site plan laid over the site. You can see the building is approximately, it's kind of hard to see, but approximately 80 feet from the road. And the 2 closest residents across the street are anywhere from 170 to approximately 210 feet from the structure itself. I do want to point out the berm area would be out here with the landscaping, and then you can also see next to the parking lot, there's some additional landscaping in effect to try to buffer the view from the adjacent properties and the street as well. So here is a site plan. I'm going to erase that so it doesn't get in the way. Here's another site plan that's easier to see the building. So that blue box hopping in there is the structure itself. The skinnier portion of the building is the range itself on the north side, and the classroom and multipurpose room and offices are on the south side of the building. You can see that is the parking lot. The entrance is located directly across the street from the entrance. That's a shared driveway for the two residences. That is standard practice for a driveway placement. This is the interior layout. I know that's difficult to see, but it's basically the building cut in half, and Sheriff Aiken may want to provide additional information on the actual use of the building, but you can see on the left side of the screen are the 10 lanes for the firing range, and then the classroom and multi-purpose room and offices are on the south side of the building. So we always look at the surrounding area with any proposed development. Here is our subject parcel in blue. You can see to the north is City of Kearney city limits. To the south is City of Liberty city limits. And one of the reasons staff thinks that this is a good location for this use is the close proximity to the highway. So you can see 33 highway is just to the east and 69 highway is to the south. So most of the traffic we would assume would come on those two highways and then cut across 116th Street, which I stated that's how the building is accessed, and it's about a quarter mile of county road that they would use to access the structure. So let's talk about the comprehensive plan and the land development code. The comp plan tells us this is in the urban services tier because it's so close to both Kearney and Liberty. So P&Z staff reached out to those cities. We did not receive any objection from the cities. The City of Liberty did want some hazardous placards placed on the building and storage units, so we added that as a condition, and City of Kearney did not object. This, with any conditional use permit, we have these 6 same CUP criteria. Both staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission felt that the Sheriff's Office has addressed these criteria. Some additional information, the Sheriff's Office held an informational meeting for the adjacent property owners in April. P&Z staff went through our public notice process, which included posting a sign on site, putting the case in the newspaper, and sending 71 letters. We did not receive any objections from outside agencies. We did receive opposition during the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, including concern about location of the building and driveway, traffic concerns, and the aesthetics and buffering of the building. And I want to talk about a couple of those issues with the site plan again. So one of the concerns, I'm going to try to draw here again, was why the building couldn't be moved back there behind that treed area. So one of the reasons for that is the county would like to leave the rest of the highway department closer to the existing highway department buildings undeveloped in case and I keep saying highway department, I should be saying road and bridge, in case road and bridge department needs to expand. The other big talking point was why that existing gravel driveway could not be used for the access. So between this location and the location of the building, there's about a 20 to 25 foot drop. So if the building would be moved further east, the building's going to be more prominent, going to be more visible to the adjacent property owners, and there would be more site work and grading that would have to be done to the site. And in addition, this driveway location has better site distance than the existing gravel drive to the east. So just wanted to address a couple of those issues. The Planning and Zoning Commission did vote 6-0 to recommend approval with 9 conditions. A couple of the highlights is that they need to get their septic permit from the health department. As with any CUP, it could be revoked at any time based on validated public complaints, and any proposed changes to this use deemed to be significant by planning and zoning staff would require the CUP to be updated, which would, in effect, require a public meeting so the neighbors would be notified of any major changes. I am happy to answer any questions that the commissioners have. I know Sheriff Aiken wants to make a few comments, and I believe some adjacent property owners are present and would like to make comments as well.
Are there any questions or any comments from Mr. Jones? Seeing none, Mr. Sheriff, if you'd like to come forward.
Oh, thanks. Good evening, Commissioners. Sheriff Will Aiken, Clay County. I don't want to take up any more time because I think Kip really did a good job on kind of bringing us to where we're at today. But in the process of meeting with the neighbors and trying to keep them as informed as possible, even though there's opposition, I still think it's important for their voice to be heard. And so they were at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting last week, and I also kind of explained what tonight's meeting was in front of the Clay County Commissioners. So they're here this evening, and I hope they're able to share their voice. But other than what Kip has already shared and what we've been working on for almost 2 years now, I'll just make myself available for any questions on any specifics.
Are there any questions for the sheriff? Nope, seeing none. If there are citizens who would like to come forward, please do so. When you come forward, the green light is on the microphone, so it's live. Please state your name and then proceed with your comments.
Hi, my name is Ross Schriever. I'm living in the home to this side of the common driveway there. I kind of feel like the ant in the song from Frank Sinatra where the ant was trying to pull the rubber tree plant, because when we had the first meeting, there was quite a few people there. Most of them left not quite satisfied. They had a lot of their answers. We went to the zoning one. We had 6 or 7 people there. We're down to 4 today, so we're losing the attrition battle right now. I was told at the zoning meeting that the reason we didn't get more is because we didn't have enough people there, and that's bothered me a little bit. You know, that was the reason. They were overwhelmed at the first place. They wanted a bit. So that kind of bothered me a little bit. So I hope you'll bear with me for a minute as I talk about a couple of things. The answer that he gave today, why they couldn't put it back, we asked that question in both the other meetings and didn't get an answer. So this is the first time I'd heard that answer. Here's my challenge to that. You move it back, you can't really tell from this, but there's a little circle driveway there. And then you go down and there's a burn area where the county burns the trash and stuff from the from tornadoes and all that stuff, okay? Interesting side note, that's where they used to burn the marijuana too, if any of you have been around that long. I am not opposed to this. I think they need it. I wish they'd have got it someplace else, but I think they need it. I wish that they would reconsider moving it behind the tree line. I want you to think about every time you went out of your driveway, if you saw that building right straight across from you in your home. You live in a subdivision someplace. I have no political connections with anybody. I've lived here in Missouri for 50 years and voted at every election, but never got involved with anything. I'm just a simple guy that wants you to have your building, but I want you to move it back. And there's got to be a way to come. There's 91 acres out there. And it's not all hills. There's some other places. Let them build it. The common driveway right now goes right up. They said they couldn't go through the county barns because they'd have to go across the dam, and I can appreciate that. But if they take that driveway that's to the right, you go right over there and drop right in a flat surface, rock solid base, and move that thing back. Gets it out of my front yard. Okay, I was the first house on that street. Over the years, as it's grown up, the county comes in, and there's considerations that I brought that was not answered correctly either. 116, as you come over where the common driveway is, that he said that the driveway is not an appropriate way, it's right at the top of the hill. It's the best place for it. You can see it from both directions. We're 300 feet down, which is legally by county commission okay. But that top driveway, you can see it from both directions. As the area has grown up, we've had a lot of teenagers. As they come over that hill, the delivery trucks, the smaller county trucks, the sheriff's officers all come over that hill at a fairly higher rate of speed than the 35 miles an hour. I offered to let them use my property to do a radar survey. They said, oh, that's a great idea. It didn't happen. I told them I'd walk on the ground with them. They said, oh, that's a good idea. It wouldn't happen. The neighbors who have 5 kids said, do you think we could put a sidewalk in? Not going to happen. They told us they won't do that. You know, we've just asked for a couple of things. One other thing, if you go back to the original map, you go by the trailer court. Are you familiar with that area out there where there's a trailer court right off of 69? You come off of an S-turn and come up over a hill there. That roadway is Liberty's, so you can't do anything about that. But it's basically a 1.5 lane road. So when two cars meet, you're basically putting your one car off the road on both ways. In the last 4 weeks, I've been run off that road by a police car, a sheriff's officer car. As they come up over the S, they come on our side of the road to make the turn. We've had to drive it. We've been run, there's a narrow bridge down there at the other end. I've been run off the road by a county, one of the smaller county trucks. The big trucks, they make a lot of noise, but those guys don't drive that fast. There's a speed limit around there of 35 miles an hour, but that bridge, if you go 35 miles an hour, you're going to lose control. They said they're going to come off 33, which is the right way to do it. But you put Google in, and sometimes it brings you through that trailer court thing. So when your visiting officers come in, they may not come to 69 and 33 highway. They may cut through that way to get there. There's just some small problems. That little small road is a big problem because you can't do anything about that one. But somebody please tell me why it cannot be moved behind the tree line. 91 acres. They have all kinds of room to expand. They said it's pleasing. You know, they're going to put the berm up and they're going to put trees around it. But did you notice the roof line is not a house? They said it's going to look like a residential building. Come on, look at the size of that building. It's not going to look like a residential building. I'm not asking you not to build it. I'm asking you, please, take some consideration as to what you think you would believe if you had to go out your driveway and see this concrete and block. I don't know what it's going to be built out of. It might be beautiful. I appreciate that. But it's right there. And I haven't brought this up before, but I had a real estate guy came out and told me, guess what it's going to do to your property value? They can't do a thing about that. It's going to drop your property value. It won't drop my taxes, but it will drop my property value. So I ask that until we can get a definite reason besides, oh, we may want to expand. Well, this is part of a county expansion. Why can't it go out there? Find out, give me some definite reasons why it can't go back there. That's all I ask. And in fact, I mean, I don't think you can today, so I'd ask you to put this off until they can. Now, they're going to tell you that they've got a grant coming, and that grant's going to get lost if they don't work fast enough. Is that fair to me, to my neighbors? I don't think so, because you're going to lose a grant that I get punished for it. Not punished, that's not the right word. That I have to deal with a situation that you wouldn't deal with. That's what I asked for. Thank you.
Hold on a moment. We have a commissioner who has a question. You have a question for the witness?
I have a question for the sheriff.
Okay.
And in regards to what you're talking about.
And if you need me, I'll be here.
Yeah. So, knowing the way you rule the roost over there, can you, I think that you would probably caution your employees that coming down that road, they're overly cautious about coming at the speed limit, right?
We can, but one of the things that we can control for is when they're responding for calls for service or assisting another agency or doing their official duties.
Yes,
and of course, you know, statute allows us to go above and beyond what the law says. And so, you know, for us to actually know why they're speeding, and I'm not gonna pretend to say that we don't, right? But for specific incidents, I would have to know date and time for us to look into it. But we definitely stress an environment of safety. And if they don't have to drive faster than the speed limit, then we say don't.
Right.
But we don't know what they're responding to. We don't know who they're assisting. In fact, I just got a text message a few minutes ago saying that we caught one of the most prolific fentanyl dealers today.
Whoa, yay.
And so that was an operation that we've been working on for quite some time. So if they're trying to catch someone, a lot of times we don't want to put our lights on because if it's in the area where we're responding to, we don't want to give us away. And so there's a lot of factors that go into it.
Okay.
But I don't want to pretend that we don't go above and beyond the speed limit when we shouldn't, but we always try to create an environment of safety, and we tell them don't drive faster.
Okay.
And just case in point, there's an initiative called it's basically what you don't want to do is drive faster than 100 miles an hour. And so everyone in my agency knows that there's absolutely no reason for you to drive faster than 100 miles an hour. But I tell them they can't because I don't know what the circumstances are. And I don't want to prevent them from doing something when when they need to make a split-second decision at that moment in time. So even though we have a policy that says safe driving utmost, there are times when they do have to drive faster than the speed limit.
And I appreciate that
Yeah.
100%. The other thing I wondered, when this was all planned, and the building, for those individuals who haven't seen it, it looks like an extremely attractive building. You know, it's not unpleasant to look at. But when your architect looked at this and, you know, the engineering and all that, did they just feel that this was the best place for it because of the topography? You know, did they look at other places before they finally made the decision, this is really where you belong?
Yes, so during the process, there were different areas that we looked at, but this is the site that made the most sense. And the reason why it's positioned north-south more than east-west is because we wanted to minimize the facade of the building so it didn't interrupt with the flow of the neighborhood, because it's still important for us to be good neighbors. And that's the reason why we built it out that way. That's the reason why we have the flora around and just position it the way we're doing, because we don't want to, again, we want to be good neighbors. We don't want to make it look like a commercial building when it's supposed to be in a residential neighborhood.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Johnson?
No, I
And
just
by the way,
wanna-
once Commissioner Johnson is finished with these questions, I will come back and open it up to other citizen comments. I didn't want anybody to think that they had been passed by, but I'm assuming Commissioner Johnson had a question for the sheriff as long as he was up at the podium. After that line of questioning, then we will resume any comments from citizens. So with that, Commissioner, please proceed.
I was just going to say, I'm going to hold all my questions till we hear from all the citizens first, and I have some questions.
Very well. With that, are there any of the citizens who would like to come forward and make comment on this issue? Please come forward if you'd like. And please re-identify yourself for the audio recording.
I'm sorry?
Re-identify yourself for the audio recording.
Ross Shriver, from right there.
Please proceed.
I'm trying not to be very negative, okay? So let me give you some experiences I've had with the county real quick. That road, 116th, used to have very, very steep gravel road there. The county came in and said, hey, we want to take that road better. We need, I think it was 15 feet of my property. He says, we can't get any more of it legally. We want you to give us 15 feet. If you do that, we'll make sure you can mow your grass right up to the street, okay? Guess what? A couple of 6 months afterwards, the first water comes down. There's been no ditch work. They add more concrete. We're now 6-8 inches above where the ground level is. I have to weed eat that entire forest because I can't drive my lawnmower down. My point is, I don't care. That doesn't bother me. But this is the problem I've had. I've asked about why we couldn't move it back. He didn't answer that. He said area was the best we've got. He didn't answer why we couldn't move back. When we went to the first meeting, we offered a couple of suggestions, and he says, I'll get back to you. Everybody I talked to didn't hear a word until we got the letter that said about the zoning meeting. I don't care if it goes 100 miles an hour. Can we get the map, the little bigger map, up where shows the trailer court and that for a second? Is that okay? Okay. The blue is is where this property is. You can see 116th Street. You go to the west, then there's that ziggy-zaggy line. That's the road I'm talking about that sometimes they take. The sheriff officer that was coming down that day and went on my side of the road was coming back to get gas, which is okay. They've been coming to get gas there since we've been there. He wasn't going on pursuit. He wasn't chasing anybody. He was getting gas. The other one was the county guy. He was coming the other way and came around that turn. So, you know, it's a speed limit. It shouldn't even be 35, but it shouldn't be anything where you're having to take speed turns. Somebody's please answer why it can't go back. That's my question, and I think that's the question you asked, but you didn't get that answer. Am I not right? Okay, thank you.
Any other citizens wishing to come forward? Please come forward, identify yourself, and then proceed with your comments.
I am Sue Shriver. That's my husband. I'm worried about the children in the area. Our neighbors who can't be here tonight have 5 small children. And with all that traffic, it's scary. It is absolutely scary. And we have grandchildren. And we just don't want the extra traffic. We don't want the extra... We just don't want it. Thank you.
Any other citizens wishing to come forward to make comment? Commissioner, did you want to go ahead and take the floor? Please proceed.
Okay, so first of all, the big question is why can't we move it back? I don't know who wants to answer that, if that'd be Kip or you, Dan, or who, but is there a greater expense to that? I did hear that, hey, we want to save some of that space for I know road and bridges are out there, but is there anything else to it? Something I'm not seeing here? Or?
Those are the main issues. Number one, the cost with the topography of the land, accessibility, obviously, for the sheriff's office, and going farther back. And while we have 90 some odd acres, we also have multiple buildings that are there now, including Salt Dome and equipment storage. We have equipment that currently is outside in the weather. Our intent is to add more storage facilities for our road and bridge equipment, getting it out of the elements. And so saving the land back there for the use of road and bridge has been our intent. As we develop and have need to put more of our equipment and our supplies under storage.
So part of a longer-term plan for storing all that equipment for them?
That's correct. And certainly the equipment that we purchase for road and bridge is very costly. Our recent pothole filler truck is, several $100,000, and so all of our equipment is. And so our intent is, but unfortunately building those kind of storage facilities also takes money. But that is our plan, is to eventually get where our equipment is out of the elements. Along with, as the county grows, we may need additional salt domes. I mean, there are needs that for the future for road and bridge.
And there's an expense too to moving it back there, you said?
Yes, the farther back that we put it, the more cost that'll be associated with the Law Enforcement Resource Center.
Do we have any idea, any ballparks what that would be?
No, we didn't really look at that. We had them look at the land and the topo and talking about needs of the Road and Bridge Department and where to put it. And actually, the building is actually moved a little bit farther to the west because of the topography and keeping costs down. At one point, we'd even talked to the architect about, because of the topography, could we actually even build it into, to the hillside? And that became costly also and was not their recommendation.
Mr. Sheriff, did you wish to address the
Yes,
commission?
just to add, kind of bring up what we've been working on in the past. When we were looking at the site just off of South Liberty Parkway, and the land was actually going to be donated to us, but the problem was it was just under 300 feet that we would have to build a road, and they were estimating $1 million just for the road. And so in order to use that road, we would actually have to build that road, and that cost we kind of associated to basically $1 million because of the distance. So we're already a little over budget, and we're trying to whittle things down, and going $1 million over budget, that had just blown the project out of the water. So that was one of the things that I just wanted to bring up.
Okay. And let's see. Okay, look at one more thing here. There's a question about the driveway. If someone can explain again about the driveway being where it is as opposed to coming off of that. I know it was addressed. I think Kip said something about it, but if I can be refreshed on why the driveway is not off of the other one.
Yeah, so let me draw again because it's fun. So this is about 20 to 25 feet higher than the location of the building. Okay. So if we use that as the entrance, move the building where the parking lot lines up with that, where that entrance lines up, it does a couple things. You're at a higher elevation, so the building becomes more visible. So this house, it'll be right across the street from that house, and it'll be more visible because it's at a higher elevation. And two, there's a much more costly, and I don't have the numbers, but there's a lot more site work, grading, fill that have to be done to make that the building location. And according to the architect, this location is a safer, when you're leaving the building, this has better sight distance.
Sight distance on the
Yep.
driveway. Okay. Okay, and then the citizen. Mr., I forget your last name, sir, that you spoke. Where is he?
Yes.
Yes. So.
Schieber.
Yes.
Yes, Schieber.
First of all, I appreciate you coming down here, and it doesn't matter to me if there's just 1 or 2 of you, if there's 500 of you. We pay attention to you, and I know the sheriff pays attention to you as well.
No doubt.
He's a good man. And so obviously, anywhere you put something like this, there's going to be people that aren't going to be happy with that. I told him I'd like to have it across from my house. You're going to have one of the safest houses in the whole county, to tell you the truth. Is there anything, I mean, you've heard the same answers I just heard. Is there anything with the existing plan that you see up there now? Is there anything there that you see that we could do that would help mitigate things better for you and your neighbors? Anything that you can see that we can do better with the plan where it is now that might appease you a little bit?
You know, I think they've done a good job for the spot that it's at. The sheriff said something that bothers me, though, just a little bit. He said, you know, we're already $1 million over, so we're going to have to try and places to cut. What are they going to cut? What's going to happen between now and when that's built if they have to cut things and aren't able to put the berm in? I mean, you know, if they're going to cut, those are the things they're going to cut. If you could put it, I don't know how often you guys have meetings, but I would love for you to come out and walk the property with me. I think that you need to see it on site. I really do, so that you know what it is, because this doesn't tell the story. It really doesn't tell the story.
So I'll tell you, I did go out there a couple times myself.
You've been out there?
And walked and looked at it.
Okay.
Actually, I was one of the guys that suggested this location. So you can blame me. But matter of fact, I was out there when all those trees were knocked down in front of your house.
I'm sorry?
When all those trees were knocked down in front of your house?
Yeah.
I was out there then.
Oh, that's the house next door is where they knocked the trees
Right.
down. We're the one that was just the next property
Right.
east, so yeah.
But yeah, so I've been out there. I'm familiar with it, and I actually drove all over the county property there to see, you know, where's the best location for it. Is this all above ground?
Yes.
The entire, it's going to be above ground. Okay. And this also is not we're not using this as a substation, so to speak, right? This is just a training facility. We're not necessarily dispatching out of there. We're
Go ahead, because we don't record the sheriff's
the
head
sheriff
nod.
shook his head no.
There you go, thank you.
For the record. Yeah, so my understanding, and having done this myself, is a lot of times you're at training and you might be called to a call, and so you have to go there. But this isn't really a place where we're going to have police officers parked or deputy sheriffs parked and sitting there waiting for a call so they can they can run out. So just so you know, I didn't know if you're aware of that. But
yeah, I'm
so
aware
it's
of that.
It's not a police station. It's a place for them to train. And you
I
have
understand that. Yeah.
some regional training as well. Yeah, I will tell you, if you're worried about the cost being cut and the berm not being put in, I'll give you my assurance right now. I promise you that berm will be there.
Okay.
We'll
Again,
cut something else before we ever cut that, or we'll find money for that. I assure you.
And I
give you
felt
my
like I
honor
was
that will happen.
Yeah, I feel like I was fighting a losing battle when I came here, but I had to take the chance. Again, you asked why can't we use the other driveway? You asked that question.
You're right.
They didn't say why they couldn't use that driveway to get to the back. They said they couldn't use the driveway to get to the current location. I'm saying use that, move it back. That driveway's there. You don't have to go across the dam. There's 91 acres for them to expand in.
So you're suggesting leave the building where it is?
No, I'm saying...
Use the drive?
No, you can't use that driveway if the building's where it's at.
Okay.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, again, I'm pleading that you just move it back behind the tree line.
No, I hear you.
I mean, you know, we're back to 91 acres. That's a lot of property.
Sure.
That's a lot of room for expansion. The county road bridge has done a great job. They're back there. There's one house that's right at the end of their driveway, but she has no windows that show out. There's a lot of noise. We can live with that. I wouldn't even, when we first moved there, they used to have an outdoor shooting range for the sheriff's department out there. I don't care about that. I really don't. I'd love to have it back behind the tree line.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I still haven't heard a reason they can't, except expansion. That's the only thing I've heard so far.
Well, so the reasons that were given, and I know you heard them, first of all, there's the expense of it, of moving it there, and then the topography is a little bit different. Also, the future plans for expanding roads and bridge, and as was mentioned by our county administrator, we have trucks that are $500,000
Yep, I know.
trucks.
They go by my house every day.
Yeah, so you've seen them.
Yep.
And so obviously we need facilities to store those inside when we can, and there's just, roads and bridges is actually roads and bridges and law enforcement are two of the biggest things that I think the government is actually responsible for. And those things are both expanding in this county. They're both expanding in this county. And so to put more limitations on the roads and bridges property out there, I think could cause us some more problems in the long run. I'm trying to, is the juice worth the squeeze here? There's always going to be someone who's going to complain. I understand that. There's no way we can make everybody happy. And I understand that. And so we try to, okay, well, how do we mitigate it? Because this isn't our first location we've looked at. We've had other locations that you're familiar with that. And so when we looked at this property, we thought, well, this is probably the least disturbance on most. Actually, we looked at your house and thought, okay, well, this is the one house that's probably going to have the most impact. And so we're trying to figure out, okay, how can we lessen that impact the most, but yet keep it like you see up there in that, and like the sheriff said. So we moved the building, half a turn so that you have the shorter end facing the street, so it's not as big of a view from the street or from your house.
Oh, it's going to be a bigger view. I mean, it's so long that the building will be a bigger view if you put it sideways.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why they're not putting it sideways. Yeah. So they're doing it so it's a shorter view for you. And then putting the berm up so you don't have a whole lot of view at all. If there's things that you think might help in front of your house, on your property side.
I planted trees 50 years ago. They're big. I mean, I don't have any windows on that side. I'm not complaining. I guess my biggest concern is my property value.
Okay, that's right.
I've been told that it will drop it by 25 to 30%.
Yeah, I'm not sure who told you that or why, and
I've had two different real estate people tell me.
I don't understand why that would happen. I know
because it's a commercial. It's not a commercial building, but it's a commercial building in a residential area.
Yeah. See, I would think
on the street.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd buy that myself.
Okay. Well, I have to because those are the guys that told me. They're my experts. So.
Yeah, I'll find you 3 real estate agents that'll say just the opposite, to tell you the truth. But nonetheless, I wouldn't be so. I'm thinking to myself, I'd love it across the street from me. I would absolutely love it because I know insurances, homeowners insurances. They look for where's your nearest fire station, your nearest police station. They look at things like that. And by the way, you mentioned if the value of your property goes down, your taxes won't. That's not true. If the value of your property goes down, the assessed value goes down, so do your taxes. However, if you don't know, we're essentially freezing your property tax rates this next year for anybody over 62. You're familiar with that, right?
I didn't know that.
Okay, well, we can talk about that offline as well, because that's coming as well. That property taxes for anybody 62 and older is real estate taxes will essentially, when I say froze, and there's some exceptions to it, but for the most part, your assessments won't go up like they have in the past. Every 2 years, you get an assessment that goes up, and I know we're going off track here, but so that's one thing that you're going to see happening is you won't have those assessments, astronomical assessments like you've had in the past. But if they go down, your property, if the assessed value goes down, your property taxes go down. Yeah. I'm not speaking out of turn on that. That's how it works, right?
Yeah. The only thing I would say is it won't happen automatically. You will need to apply for that.
Oh, right.
So really important that you apply for that.
Okay. So can I make one last request?
Okay, you can make it talk as much as you want.
We don't have a fire hydrant anywhere near us. You're putting this out there. There's not one for the county bridges, roads and bridges. They took it out about 10 years ago, the one that went down that old road that went towards the old county home. It was out there forever. They've taken it out, my insurance rates went up. We're doing this construction. Is there any way you can put a fire hydrant in?
Kip Jones, Planning Director. So the water line in front of along the street would not support a fire hydrant at this point. It would have to be upgraded to a larger line to support a hydrant. So a hydrant is not included in the current plan.
So how do we get a bigger water line? who can put pressure on them to put it in. If you make it mandatory that they have to do that, then the water department would have to do it, wouldn't they?
Those are things, and actually, you know, when Director Jones talks us about contacting outside agencies, one of the outside agencies is the Water District. When we have them look at this building and what the needs are for water capability, and the fire department for fire suppression. So those have all been gone through for those agencies. But to your point about how do you get a larger water line, and it would be having those conversations with the Water District. The county really doesn't control the Water District.
But if you require one for this building, then they would have to put it in.
But there isn't one being required by the Water District or by the Fire District.
The code doesn't require it, right?
According to them.
Yeah.
So,
But that doesn't mean that we won't look into it and see what can happen.
but see, it was out there for years. I don't understand why we can't still have it. There's wire, that water department's on the street. They have that on 33, I mean on 33. They have fire hydrants once in a while. But, you know,
We'll get an answer for you.
When this,
We'll ask.
when this was first put out in the public, they said rural Kearney is where it was at, and that didn't cause a lot of challenge. But you know, Kearney's 4 miles away. We're a quarter of a mile away from the Liberty, and so there's just been a couple of few things that just didn't feel right as this thing's been brought out. You know, it's just not. The questions have been long in coming, answers have been long in coming. I'm still not satisfied with the answer about why it can't go back. I mean, 91 acres. That's a lot of, they're not using, what, a third of it now? Come on, people. Just I'm not asking you not to build it. I've never asked for that. I think it's a great thing. I want them to have it, but not in my front yard. That's all. So thank you for your considerations.
Does that conclude your remarks for the moment,
Yeah.
Commissioner? Commissioner Lawson?
You know, this is always a problem that we're going to experience. I went through all of that last try that the sheriff had for the range out on Stillhouse Road. That was a nightmare. When he was kind enough to back off of that and say, I see it's a negative impact for a large number of people, you know, and it was going to be an outside range. So there were major concerns. It was in a rural area. One lady had prize cattle that she was concerned about. There were so many things. So he walked away from that. He tried numerous other locations, and it was always so expensive that we couldn't afford it. Something always came up. When this idea came up that we utilize county land, it was a blessing for us not to have to put money out for land or a lease of a building or anything else. We could build our own building on our own land, and it would be much less of an expense to the county, which gives us more money to work on other roads and bridges and everything else, other services that we offer. I could say that in my mind now, after bringing it forward, I could feel 100% assured that when our deputies are not in an emergency situation, I feel the sheriff will hold their little tootsies to the fire and say, you drive the speed limit. You've got kids, you've got animals, you've got people driving. We've got to keep our citizens safe. That's his top priority. The building, yeah, if I could see it move back behind those trees, I'd agree with you 100%. But when he talks about the amount of money that would cost, when that money is spent on a driveway, you know, to move it back behind those trees, then it also means not just the driveway. We've got to extend utilities back there. And you know, we've all put a new water line in our home or had to extend the gas line or whatever it might be. It's an arm and two legs. So he'd have all that expense. The more that goes on the infrastructure, the less goes inside. Right now, he pays a lot of money to have his people go somewhere else to shoot. And that's money out of his pocket that he could be using for a raise for his guys. He could be using for a new car or whatever it might be, whatever safety equipment that they need when they're out there protecting us. So I get what he's saying. Is it the ideal for everyone? Not maybe for you, but we kind of have to look at the greater good a little bit. And I apologize that, you know, the cost, the expense to move it back there would be overwhelming. And so I think that this is where we need to have it. I live in a very rural area. I would be jumping up and down with joy if I had a police station across the road from me, whether it was a station or a training center or what. But to have those deputies in the area would be great. We've had our house broken into. We've had little, you know, rotten things people do in rural areas, knock down your mailbox, all those kinds of things. I think that this will give you a percentage of safety. I think the guys will be cautious. And I think when it's all said and done, the amount of traffic, I don't think is going to be as great as you think. The guys aren't going to be out there all the time. You know, it'll be for training purposes. It'll be to qualify for their shooting. But it's not going to be that they're running up and down the road 24/7. So look at it as an asset. I wish we could do more, but money talks, unfortunately. And Clay County doesn't have a huge amount of money. So we've got to be cautious with what we spend and where we spend it. So I sincerely appreciate you all coming out. We always say, whether it's for a positive or a negative, it's gratifying to see people come in to these meetings. I wish everybody'd come every week and see what we do or what we don't do. And keep an eye on us, and we welcome you. And we thank you for your time. And I think the sheriff, given the sheriff some good information, but at this point in time, I don't see that we can move that building. I wish we could, but so thank you very much.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for my colleagues. My guess is this conditional use permit is going to pass tonight, but excuse me. I like the location, but I do see the concerns that the two houses right across the street, that's your front yard. I get that. I don't know that there's a better location because believe me, we've been looking for a long time for a better location. So if this does in fact pass tonight, what I would like to see is some ongoing conversations with both the residences right across the street to ensure that we do whatever we can to mitigate any issues that they have. I mean, and not just the berm, but if there's anything else, if there's any ideas that they come up with, whether it's vegetation or fences or any ideas, I would like to make sure that we're listening to those and not just say, hey, it's been approved, so we're going to go with our plan. And I know the sheriff's very good at that and staying in communication and like you said, you want to be good neighbors. So I just hope that happens, that we're good neighbors, and that once it's up and going, that hopefully we can win them over and say, make them happy and make them say, you know what, this isn't as bad as I thought it would be, and you know, I'm kind of glad that you guys are here. That's what I would hope to see come of this. So I would just suggest that we continue to strive for that. And with that,
let me go ahead and, if you don't mind, Commissioner, I'll see if there are any other comments, and then I will be soliciting a motion on this item. Are there any other comments, any other citizens or anyone else wishing to come forward? Please come forward, identify yourself, and make your comments to the commission.
My name is Paul Levine.
Could you speak just a little louder, please, sir?
My name is Paul Levine. I live at 11423 Chandler Road, which is just around the corner from 116th Street. You can't see it on the map because it's a little bit further to the south and west there. The one main concern is that, okay, the access to the building itself on 116th Street and in Chandler Road is used mainly by the locals and the people that utilize the maintenance building, which is the Sheriff's Department, I think it's the Highway Patrol and other entities that fuel there. I would think that the county, if they would also get the City of Liberty to go along also and improve the roads leading in there, especially on Chandler Road. 116th Street basically is a straight line. But Chandler Road, it curves around. It goes through Liberty. It starts there. It actually starts on B Highway and goes across 69. And as it goes across 69 there by the mobile home court, I don't see how, if I was the Sheriff's Department, I wouldn't want to drive down that road. It's terrible. Literally terrible. And I would think that, you know, with the input from the county to Liberty and the county itself also to improve the roads getting to that establishment. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson?
Chandler Road, your address, is that in Liberty? Are you in Liberty? The city of Liberty?
Oh,
Yeah,
please,
Chandler?
go back to the microphone so that everybody can hear your responses. Thank you, sir.
No, I'm actually in the county.
Okay, that's what I
I'm
thought.
about half to a quarter of a mile away from the city, Liberty city limits.
Yeah,
But
I
I
see
travel
where it
that road constantly because that's my way in and out. Mostly. I do go to Kearney, I go to 116th Street.
So access to this location, though, where the training facility would be, that would mostly be off, I would guess, off 116th, wouldn't it? Or there would be a lot of traffic on Chandler as well because of that?
Mr. Sheriff, if you'd like to add to the discussion?
I didn't understand what he said.
Okay, so just to clarify, all of our training, we're going to advise that they come off of 69 Highway. The issue at Chandler Road is, as we found out in the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting last week, that is actually the City of Liberty's responsibility. And it looks like what IED Alley looked like in Afghanistan when I was over there, the potholes and everything else. So it is very difficult to drive there, and you cannot drive fast because you're probably going to lose a wheel. But in order, and just to reiterate a word that that the gentleman just used, that's the road that locals used. Unless Google tells you to go through there, it's just going to be so much easier to travel from Highway 35 up 69 and to 33 and then make a left or head west on 116th Street. That's just going to be the easiest way to get into this facility. Okay. To come in from the west on 116th or Chandler Road, they wouldn't know unless they were from this area on how to go that way.
Yeah, so the traffic impact then is fairly minimal when you come off of 33 to 116th right there straight in. All right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? Any further comments? Please come forward, sir.
Ross Reber. I wonder if part of the protocol with the visiting police departments would be that they would give a direction so that they wouldn't take that, I mean, just make that part of the protocol of the invitation so that they did that. I think that would be a good deal. The other thing to consider, going northbound on 69, you come over a hill, and at the top of that hill, the passing lane opens up for the people going north, okay, right at the very top. And so people start passing right there. And more than once, we've had people, especially motorcycles, but they come up and they come out in that lane, but we've been watching to go right, and there's no traffic coming, so there's been a number of near head-ons where people come out. And it's not your road. I know it's a state road. But maybe it's time to put a left turn lane in. I mean, that would be a state situation, but maybe you could petition them. That would help a whole lot. Because it's going to be open 8 to 5, whatever they said. It's not going to be 24 hours a day. We understand that. It's going to have some late times. I'm for everything that's said. And it was reiterated that it was going to cost $1 million for the driveway. That's not this driveway. They've never said what this was. That was the other driveway that was going to cost $1 million, I think. It was at the old place, the first place. Is that right? That $1 million for a driveway was at the other? That was for another location. That was the other location. So I just wanted to make sure that you understood the $1 million wasn't what it was going to cost.
What was the left-hand turn lane location you just mentioned?
69 and 116.
33 and 116?
I mean 33, I'm sorry, 33 and 116.
That's what threw me off. Okay, I see what you're saying.
So, you know, you've answered things. I don't necessarily agree with the answers you gave me. I hate to put your timetable out, and I know it's not going to happen. I'm not the ant. I didn't get the rubber tree plant tonight. But man, please, at least spend a little more time thinking about moving it back. Those costs can't, I mean, there can't be that much more cost to do it. When they put that new tower in, man, those utility lines went in overnight. You know, when they put that brand new tower in out there years ago. By the way, you know, that old tower doesn't do any good. It's just sitting there as an eyesore. I think maybe you ought to look at taking that down. Sorry, that's not part of this meeting. Anyway, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to ask any more than I've asked. You wouldn't want it there. She would. We've had the police out there doing gas for 50-something years. They've been getting gas out there. Back when the old county home was there, they had the gas pump out there. Those things don't bother me. Just move it back 70 feet into that behind the tree line. I mean, there's got to be a way to do it.
So just to confirm, your issue is not the traffic, your issue is the view that you're going to see?
No, the traffic's not my, look, you know, I worry about 33, that came up just a minute ago as I was thinking about it. I don't think it's going to be that much more traffic. Right. I think that the location with that driveway that's there, I mean, it's not going to take much to turn that into a real driveway. That's where it was the driveway for years. That's where they went back and gassed up on that driveway. So please, please, at least for just a few minutes, think about figuring out a way to move it back behind that tree line. That's all I'm asking. Thank you. Sorry to take your time.
I appreciate you coming in.
And by the way, please come, we've got 2 people who'd like to speak. And by the way, I just want to emphasize, I think it's the consensus of everyone up here. Citizens coming up to comment is far from a waste of time. We want to give you every opportunity to speak your opinion. So I think I saw 2 hands go up. So if you folks would like to come forward and address the commission, please do so. I saw 2 hands go up, and I don't mind. I didn't see one go up before the other, so.
Can we go back to that?
I'll go ahead and wait till you get to the microphone. That way it's on the recording, please.
Excuse me, sorry. Paul Levine again.
Thank you.
Okay. This is the first time I've seen this map, and I see something on this map that makes me kind of wonder, you know, what the future is of this area. On 33 Highway there, where 116th Street comes off of 33 Highway, there is, it looks like it's going to be a development called Estates of Liberty. Is that correct?
Mr. Jones, did you have something to add there?
Kip Jones, Planning Director. So all of those names that are on the map are subdivisions of land that have already occurred. We have no current applications in this area.
So then basically that's just something that may happen in the future, or is that what I'm looking? No?
That's just what they're called.
It's just what it's called? Oh, okay. Well, I thought maybe it was going to be developed. how much more personal property tax is going to be coming in from that would pay for more roads and bridges and things of that nature.
Just to be clear, Mr. Jones said there are no current applications. That doesn't mean tomorrow one could come in the door, but as we speak now, we have no notion that there will be a development there in the immediate future. What's that, the,
If that's what they call that area.
Yeah.
Mr. Jones?
That's just the name.
It's just the name, though. I mean, there's no development that is contemplated.
Yeah, so for Kip Jones, Planning Director, for the county's rules, anytime you subdivide land, whether you're subdividing it, if it's less than 40 acres, if it's two 20-acre lots, it gets named. So that's considered a subdivision. It's not a true interior streeted subdivision, but it was subdivided at one point, and that's what they chose to name it. It is not a future development.
And there is, as you had pointed out a moment ago, there are no plans that have been submitted for that track.
No, we have no applications for any kind of interior streeted subdivision in this area currently.
Thank you. Was there another citizen who wished to comment, or would you like to continue commenting, sir? Mr. Sheriff?
I did want to reiterate or reassure that all directions that we give for anyone that goes to this training facility will be coming off of 33 Highway on 116th. So barring the, and I joked around last week at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, but it's really not a joke. We still have people that drive into rivers and lakes because they follow Google. So barring any of that from happening, everyone that we have direct contact with, our protocols, as if you will be to come off of 33 Highway on 116th. So
My guess would be if someone were on that road that they are lost.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yeah. Or a local.
Oh, yeah.
So I just wanted to reassure.
Thank you for that. Further comments from the public? I'll ask one more time. Are there any members of the public who would care to come forward and comment to the commission on this issue? Seeing none, I will certainly entertain a motion related to 2024-234. Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve 2024-234.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2024-234. Is there any further discussion from the commission? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
The next and last item on our regular agenda is 2024-233. Administrator?
Resolution 2024-233 is approving a surplus equipment to be sold at auction and proceeds to be applied to purchase of a UTV and trailer for the Sheriff's Office. And Captain Agdarian is here to provide information to the Commission.
Good evening, Commissioners. Captain Amy Agdarian, Clay County Sheriff's Office. This request is to surplus some vehicles and send them to facilities for auction. We are asking to surplus and auction a boat, a trailer, and an outboard motor that had previously been used at the lake by the Ranger Division when it was there, and then it really hasn't been used by sheriff personnel. We don't have people that have the training to operate that kind of equipment, and there's a boat at the lake already that the Parks Department has, and it's our estimation that we could have a much better impact in that area by taking any monies that we would get at auction for this equipment and purchasing one or two UTVs and trailer to be able to take those vehicles out onto trails or deeper into the park where there isn't a road. And so that is our intent. But just to be clear, this request tonight is just simply asking for authorization or commission approval to send this equipment to auction to bring in whatever proceeds come, and then we'll go through the traditional purchasing process from there.
What would be the, if there was not an earmark already kind of built into this resolution, what would the disposition of those funds be once the item is, so because this was originally with the water, patrol there before they were merged with the sheriff's department?
Right, and this was kind of a different one on me. I have not actually worked with a request like this before. Ordinarily, if we have surplus vehicles, we would ask if there are other county offices that could use the vehicles, or we would just send them to auction and not worry about that. But we had in this equipment, we believe that we can, I think the last estimate that I had was that the boat and the trailer and the motor appraised for between $52,000 and $57,000. Well, we don't want to just send that off to be surplused. There really is a very niche need for equipment like that, so we're not going to go out and look for other agencies to surplus. I mean, that's a large gift. So we would like to take any monies that come from that to purchase equipment that's going to be more useful now.
But I mean, if absent the earmark, would that money go back into the sheriff's office anyway, or would it go to general fund, or what would be the usual disposition of those funds?
Typically, we surplus, and to get to surplus, that means no other department within the organization in the county needs the equipment. And then we surplus it and go to sale, or sometimes the sheriff's office for their specialty equipment have actually donated it to smaller jurisdictions. But when we go to sale, then typically those proceeds are typically either go to the general fund, or they may go back into the revenue stream, which possibly paid for the equipment. So many times our equipment comes out of our 300, 301, or 302, which is our use tax capital fund, or it could go into the general fund. And so it just goes into revenue stream.
And where did the funding go when this equipment was originally purchased? Where did those funds come from?
It would have come from the 240 account, the Parks account, because that's when the Rangers were with the Parks Division. I don't have that particular expenditure line.
No, but that tells me department. That's kind of what I was looking for. It would have gone back to Parks.
It could have come from the Park Fund, or it could have come from 302, which is the capital use sales tax identified for parks.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson, I believe you're seeking recognition.
Yes, thank you. Certainly I would approve this, but my question is, I just don't know, what law enforcement boats are on the water?
What law enforcement boats? I believe that Missouri State Highway Patrol still has a boat. I would defer to Parks and John Davis to enlighten us about that. But I know that there is still a boat there that belongs to Parks that was one of theirs, and then we had this other one that was that the sheriff's office took when we merged the Rangers. So there were two boats. Parks kept one, we took the other. But as far as law enforcement boats on the lake, honestly, Highway Patrol, they are the ones that patrol that water.
Okay.
The sheriff's office doesn't have the training to be out on the boat.
So if there's some kind of search and rescue, search and recovery efforts on the water, that would be the Highway Patrol that would handle all that?
Highway Patrol, and then Smithville, I believe also Smithville Fire and Rescue has some equipment that they can take out there, a little farther than we can.
Okay. I'm ready to make the motion.
To answer your question, since we have Director Davis here, I would ask him to come to the podium and give you some information about what happens for water rescue.
John Davis, Interim Parks Director. Highway Patrol has two boats on the water. Parks Department has one, the smaller of the old Ranger boats. We did keep it. And Smithville Fire also has their own, I think they have 3 boats.
Does Highway Patrol keep their boat out there all the time? Or do
Yes, they have
launch it?
spot on our docks. They rent space on the docks at Camp Branch.
Okay.
So as far as the sheriff's office goes, we do not have capabilities to do more than just, we're pretty much relegated to the shore, and our personnel are there, and they don't really go out on the water.
Correct. And but should they need a boat, they still have access to the boat the Parks controls, so it's no issue.
And clarification on why Parks was keeping a boat is certainly because, as you all know, we have rental boats. We have pontoon boats, we have other boats that we rent to patrons. So if something should happen on the lake, not an emergency rescue type situation, but if one of our boats breaks down, they can contact us, and so our park staff then have the capability of taking our boat out to assist those individuals that may be stranded on the water.
I'm sorry, did you have anything else you'd care to add?
I have nothing.
Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Sheriff?
Just for clarification, we still have access to the boat, but any emergencies that happen on the water, water rescues and stuff like that, Smithville's going to be able to respond a lot quicker than us. They have the specialized training. I would love to maintain that capability, but the reality is we don't have the personnel. We're really hurting in the jail, and any additional personnel that we have out at the lake are usually, like right now when school is out of session, it's going to be our school resource deputies. The problem with having a boat and someone who's not trained is we may create an incident within an incident, and we just don't want to do that. So any emergency water actions, Smithville's going to be there a lot quicker than we are. As far as enforcement on the water, that's the Missouri State Highway Patrol. That's pretty much been their jurisdiction, for a long time. I don't even know how long, but that's just to answer your question.
I believe that would be in the mid-2000s. That was when I was in the legislature.
So it used to be called the Water Patrol, and then they merged. 2012, 2010, I think.
10 probably, more than 12. Oh, no, it was sometime during that. I remember, that issue came up.
I think you might have still been in Jeff City when that took place.
I was there when that happened.
Yeah, okay.
Captain?
One other thing, Missouri Department of Conservation also has a presence at the lake, but typically they are on the shore more than they are on the water. So there is additional law enforcement presence there.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson, did you seek recognition? Hold on, I'm sorry. Let me push your button. There it is.
Yeah, I just moved to approve 2024-233.
Motion's been made for the approval of, let me get the number right, 2024-233. Further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Excuse me, that concludes our regular agenda. Next, our county administrator comments. Administrator?
Just that the next meeting of the commission is next Thursday at 6 o'clock here in the commission hearing room.
Next, our commissioner comments, and I think we're going to get through that a little more quickly than usual. Commissioner Lawson, if you'd like to lead us off.
I shall. I had the great pleasure of going to the park board meeting the other evening. And as it happened, they held it at the golf course. I can't even begin to tell you how great that golf course looked. I haven't been up there in a long while. My husband and I tried to golf together. That's something you never want to try to do. You're swinging at each other with the clubs versus swinging at the ball. So I hadn't been up in a long while, but my goodness, the grounds were awesome. Everything was so well maintained and cared for. And the gentleman who is, I assume that, was he the pro that met? What a guy. He's a #1 personality. Couldn't have been more welcoming, answered questions, gave us a great report. And that is a profit center. I know there's been people that have said, oh, well, I don't know why we keep that golf course. We ought to, Smithville would take it. Smithville couldn't even begin to be able to maintain that thing. It's stunning. It looks like something you could play the Masters on. I was highly impressed. So if anybody gets a chance, go out there, look at it, give John a pat on the back because they have really taken that to new levels. I'm very impressed with the golf course. So thank you for letting me come the other night and look forward to doing it again.
Commissioner Thompson? Commissioner Johnson?
Just a quick shout out to our colleagues who are not here tonight. I know a couple of them are under the weather, so if they happen to be watching, I hope they feel better soon. We'll see them next week.
I just want to say that my golf experience, generally speaking, is relegated to those courses that have windmills and giant giraffes. So that's I'm not a very good judge of that particular asset. Something I do want to point out is one of the things that we do is that we participate with the Kansas City TIF Commission. We had a meeting last Wednesday. I am chairing the portion of the Kansas City TIF Commission that deals with Clay County. I had brought up a subject for discussion. It was just more of just introducing it. We will be discussing it in future meetings. What I brought forth was the notion that we might be able to reduce the reimbursable amounts for TIF plans, and in exchange for that, offer developers regulatory relief and fast tracking for their permit approvals and that sort of a thing. It really did not go very much beyond just the, hey, what do you think? What do you guys think of this? Maybe we can study it a little bit. I had asked the staff and council of the TIF Commission if they would do some background work for us. So that discussion will be, I think, continued next week. Like I say, what my comments were there were roughly that we should investigate that as a possibility. It is my opinion that the Northland is where a lot of development happens, and I think there have been a number of people who have observed that sometimes our development is stymied by some of the regulations and some of the protocols that come out of the city of Kansas City to develop, and I'm talking about now within Kansas City city limits, that sometimes those projects are stymied by regulation and other issues. So I think that's something that is a valid thing for our TIF Commission to look at and to be able to possibly make recommendations on future actions. Those I will try to report back to the Commission as those discussions mature. But right now, it was mainly just opening the subject for discussion, and I think there was some receptiveness to the notion to at least explore the subject. With that, unless there are any further comments, we are adjourned.